How do you create more powerful, more creative, and more useful prompts with AI art programs like Midjourney? How can you use the prompt creation to supercharge your print-on-demand and passive income side hustles and businesses? We're going to talk about it today. My name's C.R. Caldwell, and the video we're going to deal with today is prompt creation for AI art tools like Midjourney. So let's get into it. When we talk about prompt creation, well, what is that? Well, a prompt is thought of as the text that you type into an AI art program to get a picture out of it. There's a little more to it than that. So you could be typing in text to describe the picture that you want, as well as commands that the AI will understand, but also things like pictures and even emojis could be used to kind of input those things into the AI text field to output art that you can then upscale or fine-tune or put onto your print-on-demand products, anything from shirts to wall art to even, KDP books we'll talk about for creating, children's books or any kind of print-on-demand type of products that you might dream about making or that you're already doing right now and that you want to expand. I'm not really an artist myself, so I've done a little bit for many years with Photoshop, so Midjourney helps me, and it's really an exciting way. And I'll show you a little bit more about that, how that works, and all of the resources, or a few of them, that I use the most at least today, because we could talk about prompt creation and Midjourney over days, weeks, months, a whole course, a whole degree could probably go into AI art creation, or the types of things you can do with an AI program like Midjourney. So to start off, you'll sign up for Midjourney just by going to the midjourney.com website and signing up for the beta. That's going to give you an invite to the Discord server for Midjourney. Discord is another program that's separate from Midjourney that basically you can chat on and do voice chats on for things like gaming or workspaces or just whatever kind of social networking you want to do. So to show you what that looks like, here is the Midjourney, the little kind of sailboat or shark's fin, whatever that is. I think it's a little sailboat icon. And here's the server that you would get an invite to. You can just hop on a newbie channel if you want, use your free kind of trial credits, type in to the field in the bottom here, /imagine. The prompt field opens up, and in that field you can type in any text and generate art from that. Of course, this is a public channel that everyone can see. So I use my own server. It's free to start your own server on Discord, and then I just add the AI to my own server. Just go over to the Midjourney bot on the side here, right click it, and then go to profile and add to server. And this will add it to your own server. So now when you have it added to your own private channel, you can start using your own commands, your own photos, pictures, anything you want to start creating your AI art. And I will give you a lot of resources for that and a lot of information about how to create prompts, or at least kind of an overview. But here's kind of one of the first things that I did was I took a picture of myself with my webcam, and I just saved it onto my desktop, and then I dropped it into Discord, and then you can get the URL from that. If you go down to the bottom here, open in browser, and then you'll be able to see the URL that you can just copy and paste. I also used the Canva background remover, so there's the link to the image. I used the background remover on it, and then I just typed the word biker after it, and then we got kind of a stylized image of that. Then I made variations of that just to see different variations of it. So you can get a lot of things that don't look like you. I think that looks just like me, but as a biker, I guess. So sometimes you will get things that look very much like you. And here I just tried it again, and see, some of these don't look like me at all. This one on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, number 3 looks like me, and 1 doesn't look anything like me at all, and the other 2 not really. So this one's pretty close, and that's what I actually use for my the image for my YouTube channel, the icon. And that's how I created it, just with one word after the image. So the image forms a prompt, and then the next word forms a prompt as well. And this is part of a trial and error process. So you could do this and you could find that it doesn't work. It looks horrible. It doesn't look like you. And that's one of the facts. If you're trying to get something that looks like a specific thing, instead of just you're trying to design around a theme, well, you're going to have to do a lot more of the trial and error. So you could input a couple of pictures and a description, a prompt after that, and see what you can get. I'll show you a resource later on towards the end of the video as well that will really help you, an in-depth series to give you information about how to create consistent characters. If you want to use that for a YouTube, like if you want to use it for a KDP book or something like that, or a print book, you know, like if you want to do a children's book that people could buy on Amazon, or a digital book, anything like that, you'll need to be able to have the character the same. And it could also be you want to have a series of artwork posters or something like that, and you want the character to look similar across this line of products, whether it's on different print-on-demand products or like on a series of posters or something like that. So there is a YouTube channel, I'll put the link to it in the description, by Christian Heidorn. So if you really want to do that for a series of art, print-on-demand pieces, or a book or something like that, it's definitely worth the view and the time that you could put into it. In terms of starting off with creating prompts, experiment with it, type out simple things about the image that you want. Describe the subject. So if you're going to do like a cat in a teacup, just type that in there and see what comes out. And then you want to think about things like, well, how exactly do you want the image to be presented? Do you want, you know, something that's going to be in a cartoon style, or sharp lines, high contrast, black and white? Do you want it to be like it's a statue or an oil painting, or these types of things? And it may be something that you have no idea about, and you just want to type in a basic command and then let Midjourney do its magic, or whatever AI program that you're working with, like Dali 2. There are many different AI programs as well. So for t-shirt design specifically, some of the things that I will do is I'll type design for a t-shirt after whatever the subject is that I want, and I might type in sharp lines, 2D style, or high detail, ultra detailed, 8K. And incidentally, if you do type like 4K or 8K, it's not going to give you that upscaled artwork by itself in that resolution, but it'll know that you want something that's very detailed, and so it'll do kind of a more detailed version of that image than it otherwise would. So that's just kind of a couple of ideas, and you may not know exactly what you want, so it's best to experiment, and you can use up those free credits. And I would say look at the subscription packages, which I think start at around $10 a month and come with the rights for, you know, commercial use of the art that you would create as well. So you don't have to worry at this time. You still want to be aware of the policies on each platform, which could change in the future with respect to the use of AI art. And I'm not aware personally of any platforms that are not permitting AI art at this time, but it's something that you want to be aware of, because it is an evolving kind of genre, or kind of creation tool or mechanism or field, if you will, you know? So just to kind of quickly go over the bullet points that I have here. So any kind of art style that we've made, or that is a known art style, you could use that as a prompt in Midjourney. And then I like to use a command like plain background or something like that, like sharp lines and plain background. I don't want a lot of noise in the background. One of the reasons for that is because when I go to the Canva background remover, if it's too kind of blended into the background, the background remover doesn't know how to cut out that image, sort of, because I don't want a box unless I'm making a poster perhaps. But if I'm going to do a t-shirt design or a mug design or a lot of these other print-on-demand products, I need to be able to remove the background and just have kind of the silhouette of the say a cat in a teacup. And I'll show you a couple of resources that you might want to look at. Prompt.noonshot.com, and you can go into a lot of detail. So you can see some of the types of elements of the image and the style of the image, right? So, and then you can copy that and you could paste it right into the Discord. Another thing is the playground. So this is a very useful tool when you're starting out, because one of the things is understanding how the types of prompts that you use create certain types of pictures with Midjourney and other types of AI programs. And incidentally, you'll find that if you type the same prompt into different AI programs, that the art output, if they're art programs, will be radically different in most cases. So if you go over here, you'll see the prompts that they purport to use to create these. So the playground is a really, really useful tool to give you ideas and to understand how the types of prompts that you enter will affect the type of art that is output or generated. And there are a lot of other commands and things like that that you may kind of see as you're browsing through here. I don't really want to get too much into, using seeds and using text weights and things like that, which can also be very useful commands and tools. I want to focus more on the text that you're entering and maybe using images as well, because there's really too much. It's very easy to get overwhelmed, I think, when you're starting this, instead of just doing like some experimentation, which I think is a lot of fun and the most inspiring thing to do, perhaps. Prompt Hero is another one. You can use this to search for images, and you can see the commands, the prompts that they've used for those. Another thing that I think is very, very useful is the Dali prompt book. So if you just Google Dali, D-A-L-L-E prompt book, you'll find it online, and you can download the PDF for that, and it has a full breakdown of all of the different types of commands and prompts that you could use for Dali, but the same type of language. It'll give you an understanding of how to craft prompts for Midjourney as well. There's the download. Okay, so as you can see from the table of contents here, you can feel free to download this yourself, or just pause here and you can look at all the different things that it covers. As you can see, this is more than we could talk about in a short YouTube video. This is one of the resources. There are many other resources, but this is one that's fairly comprehensive for understanding prompts for AI art. Again, this is for Dali too, but you'll find that the way that they talk about prompts will be very useful for programs like Midjourney as well. Here's a definition of a prompt if you want to look at that. I'm not going to go over this whole book, but there are a couple of things that I want to just cover here. And again, it'll give you a kind of a systematic breakdown of things. Photography, this kind of understanding how the elements of the composition of a photo could influence how you talk about the image that you're creating in prompts is a really core concept. Even if it's not an actual photograph that you're creating, that you can use the same type of language in terms of the framing and the lighting, and a lot of these other types of concepts, even if it turns out that it's animated or it's not a photorealistic image. So this type of construction could be kind of extrapolated to other contexts. And we're just going to skim over this. You can read this yourself. I'm not affiliated with these guys at all, but again, it's a very useful book, so I would recommend downloading it. It's free. And I just want to kind of look at a couple of things, because I look at print on demand primarily. So I do shirts and many other types of print on demand products, as well as books. So the types of illustration styles are one of the core concepts that you're going to want to think about for creating in art, especially things like 2D, black and white. So what is the type of art in terms of the drawing of it or the creation of it, and then what's the color scheme and things like that, the depth of it, 2D, 3D, etc. And then again, kind of similar to what I was talking about before, the type of illustration, whether it's a children's drawing or it's watercolor or acrylic or oil painting or something like that, will really strongly affect, in a fairly predictable way, the type of output that you're going to get for the art. And this list goes on, but for creating pictures, I'd say those three, from my point of view, are some of the core concepts. And kind of moving beyond that, there's also a engineering prompts section or resource from Dali as well. Okay, so this is the prompt engineering guide, and you'll find that I believe they've got a link at the end resources of the prompt book as well. So this is along the same lines that we've just talked about. Here they're using specific artists to modify a core theme or subject. A cat sitting in a chair wearing a pair of sunglasses, and then they're kind of modifying that across the prompt of kind of famous artists with distinct styles. This is not specifically something that I use, like the names of other artists, but it's very popular. It's very common to do this, and especially someone like Van Gogh. If you go on like Etsy, you'll see countless types of Starry Night style art that's created with AI. So just as an example. And art styles, again, we've already covered this, but just to show you an example of this cat with the sunglasses in all these different art styles: cyberpunk, steampunk, digital art, art deco, and it can go on and on and on, and you can see how the same core prompt that describes the subject matter with the art style or the modifier of a famous prompt of a famous artist, how this radically affects the output of the art that you're going to get. Another thing that you might do is use a program called Scribble Diffusion, where you can just scribble like a little, make a picture of anything with like a horrible line drawing, and then describe it, and it will kind of create an image out of that, and then you can copy that URL to Midjourney and start creating art with that too. And you might have to experiment with this. We've got like some spaceship that looks like a sunflower because we already had the sun behind the mountains, right? So you can experiment with something like that and create a unique piece of AI art and start modifying and experimenting with that. You can easily lose control of the art that you're trying to create as you add more prompts. So one of the things that you'll want to do is, if you get something that's close to what you want, make variations of it. When you've got variations, you can pick one to, like V1 means variations of one, or if you like it, you can U1 is upscale one. And then when you find a picture that you like, you can open it in a browser, download that image, and then you can upscale it on an external program, and there are millions of them, or many dozens of them that you can do online to create very high resolution images through upscaling, because the image that you've output may or may not be high enough resolution for you. Okay, so we've covered a lot of these things, and I would say if you are going to be doing KDP books and you've got a character that you love, I would say one of the resources that you'll want to look at, because that's really tricky, and it's going to take you a little bit of time to understand how consistent characters are created. So Christian Heidorn does a really great job of that, and there are a series of videos. If you want to have a professional piece of work for your book, you don't want each photo of your main character or any of the subject matter in the book to look wildly different styles. So you have to think about controlling that a little bit. The next thing that I want to show you is future tools. There are constantly new kind of AI resources out there, and you can filter by free tools, freemium tools, whatever you want. Finally, I do have a couple of things like place it and Printful on here, as well as Canva that you could create mock-ups with. So when you're creating t-shirt art, one of the things that you'll want to do is have mock-ups for your Shopify store or your Etsy shop, or whatever kind of program. If it's not Merch by Amazon, you'll probably want mock-ups for it. So that's most of what I wanted to cover today. I don't want you guys to have information overload. So I would say just get that free trial with Midjourney and start experimenting and see what you create. And then if you decide that that's something you want to try to do with your print-on-demand or passive income business, then try a package month to month or something like that. If that's what you want to do on one of these AI tools. There are lots of different ones. I have no kind of affiliation with any of them. I personally use Midjourney, but I've used Dali as well. I don't like it as much, but there are many other ones as well. Try it out, experiment, and start adding a few keywords. And I'll have more videos about this in the future. Leave me notes in the comments. When I get to 500 subscribers, I'll also put some polls out to see if you guys want me to drill down into some of these concepts more deeply. Because, we could go really deeply into t-shirt art prompt creation. Good luck with your AI art creation and your passive income and print-on-demand businesses. Thanks for watching.